Yes! Righto, tell you how there, champs, and I know, you're asking, where have I been? Well, I've actually been crook. I watched the Euros and England got done in the Euros. I was on my deathbed watching that stuff and England got done. What's going on? If that's not bad enough, you guys in the UK got beaten by a bunch of convicts in the Olympics. And I'm actually petitioning for shaft stroking in the Olympics. Yes, I want shaft stroking in the Olympics. And I'm really good at shaft stroking. And yeah, I've got to have a rap name for this, of course. I think I want to be called GS Man with Long Shaft. That's what I want to be called, GS Man Long Shaft. So anyway, I'm out on this glorious beast here, the GOAT, the 1250 GS and GS Adventure, the absolute fucking GOAT when it comes to motorbikes in general. The 1300 GSA looks amazing. I actually like the look of it. A lot of people, believe me, so many comments, negative comments about it, and a lot of people don't like it, but I don't mind it too much. But I'm going to tell you why you should buy the 1250 GSA over the 1300 GSA. There are a lot of reasons to do that, because the 1300 GSA, I've thought long and hard about it. I'm actually really struggling to actually come up with some real reasons why you should buy that, the 1300 GSA. There is one reason, I'll get to that in a sec, where I think, oh, I'd really like that on the, you know, the old GS. Now, of course, you're going to get all these propaganda reviews saying how much better the 1300 GSA is over the 1250 GSA, and yeah, I can tell you now, they're all fucking bullshit. So what do I mean by that? I mean, look at the old 1300 reviews. How many people said, oh, it's so much better, so much faster, this and that? Was it? Really? No. And there will be people that actually say, how can you talk about a bike you haven't ridden? Well, listen to this, fuckhead. Everything I said about the 1300 GS before it came out was fucking true. And everything is going to be true of the 1300 GSA that I say now. So if you watched all these 1300 reviews, everybody was raving about it. And then actually, if you listen to what they said off camera, off review, well, you had people like Neve saying, well, the only two things the 1300 GS has over the 1250 GS is the electronic screen and the adaptive radar. That's it. That's all it has. That's not much. That's a criticism, right? Then you have people like Alistair, the guy off 44 Teeth, not the old grumble man, the other one. He actually rode the 1300 GS, and the first words that come out of his mouth was, I really just want a fucking 1250 now. Yes, that guy off 44 Teeth actually said in one of the videos, he said, nothing prepares you for how shit the 1300 GS is. Now, that's harsh. It's a fucking awesome machine. Like, it is amazing, but it's not better than these, it's a different bike. But the 1300 GSA will be a big beast. So you can't say, well, this is a real GS and the 1300 is a toy sort of sports tourer. The actual 1300 GSA is a big boy. So yeah, you can actually say it is a real GS. The 1250 and 1250 GSA, they're gonna go down as legendary bikes. Legendary. Now the 1300 GSA will actually be good, but I don't think it's ever going to go down as a legendary bike. This is sort of like one of those things, peak GS, just like the last Land Rover was peak Land Rover. Who the fuck wants to buy the new Land Rover? The old one's heaps better, and the old 1250 here, even though the 1300 is amazing, it's the king. Now, everyone that has bought the 1300 GS said, oh, it's so much better than the 1250, and of course, if you buy a new bike, you're not going to say the old one's better, but there was one dirty rotten Kiwi that was in the comments saying, man, I really just want my 1250 back. And I told him, I said, hey, please make a video about this, because everybody's saying the 1300 GS is so much better. And he said, it's a bit cold in the old New Zealand at the moment. Now I can understand that. It's gonna be fucking freezing in Kiwi land. And I think we should all take a little bit of time to appreciate the New Zealand farmers. Because the Kiwi farmers have actually started wearing kilts. Just imagine how frozen the plums are wearing a kilt. And the reason that the Kiwi farmers have started wearing kilts is because the sheep have got used to the sound of zippers. If you actually look at the spec sheets, the 1300 GSA actually stacks up all right in a lot of areas. It's actually got a longer wheelbase. It's actually bigger than the old 1250 GS. That BMW is a big plus, and it's got a good rear subframe. It doesn't look cheap like the 1300 GS. It actually looks like a bit of quality. But I guess the first thing is, do you want to be a beta tester for the 1300 GSA? You know, the 1300 has had a lot of issues. We know these 1250s. These are battle tested. Pretty much everything that has gone wrong with these has been figured out. Oh, look, I know there's some issues like the shaft, whatever. It's always the fucking shaft, isn't it? Most issues are sorted on these. These things are battle tested, proven, and the 1300 GSA, well, if you want to be a beta tester for it, yeah, go ahead. You just have to know what you're getting into. I've already mentioned before that the 1250 GS is a much better touring bike than the 1300 GS, just because the motor's more mellow, it's a bit softer, it's a bit more comfortable. It just is like peak adventure sort of touring bike. It's just so fucking good, this bike. It's amazing. Now the 1300 is more sporty toury. Now the 1300 GSA is going to be more like this, but it's still got the same motor as the 1300, so it's a bit more peaky. It's going to handle a little bit better and whatever, but who cares? It's not going to be as compliant and comfortable as this boy over here. It is also ergonomically a lot better. There's a better riding position. There's talking about the stupid hamburger button they've got on the 1300. That continues with the 1300 GSA. So you've got to faff about, especially if you've got the electronic screen. You've got to faff about with this and that, going through the menu to get what you want. Who the fuck green lighted that shit? I'm coming to get you. Now think about this. Some of the obvious things is price, right? You could save, I checked up, about $15,000 Australian. I'm buying a lightly used 1250 GS Adventure over what a fully spec'd 1300 GS Adventure is going to cost. Wow, $15,000. That's an epic bike you can buy right there with the money you save. Just amazing. Or you can use it for accessories or whatever. Actually, probably the 1250 GS Adventure you buy will probably come with most of the accessories anyway. And also, even if you bought brand new, you're going to save at least $5,000, at least, maybe more. I reckon here in Australia you could probably get a brand new GS Adventure fully spec'd for close to 30,000, where it's going to cost you like 39,000 for a GS Adventure, same sort of spec. So massive savings in terms of money. And here's the deal, the 1250 GS Adventure is battle tested. You know it's reliable. You know you can get all accessories for it. You know what you're getting. You're getting a legendary bike. With the 1300 GS Adventure, it's going to be amazing. I have no doubts that bike will be awesome, right? And in actual fact, when I really think about it and boil it down, when I think about the 1250 GSA versus the 1300 GSA, all the 1300 GSA has going for it is the new tech. So you've got the dual spring rate suspension, the telelever Evo, you've got the electronic screen, you've got the radar, the collision warning, blind spot monitoring, stuff like that. Also, clutchless. Well, it still has a clutch, but you don't have a clutch here. Automatic gearbox if you want, and there's no confusion here. That is an option. You don't have to have it, and you can still change gears manually. I like that that's happening. I know the old boomers are going, oh, this is my fucking dream. I don't have to fucking change gears. I've banged on about the shaft and the torque for so long that I can sit in one gear and just don't have to change gears. Well now, boomers, you actually don't have to fucking change gears. How good is that for you? Now I did say there's one thing I like about the 1300 GSA over the 1250, and that is the actual dual spring rate suspension and the adjustability you have with the suspension. You can go, too soft or too harder on any of the settings, and it is a bit more clever at the suspension. But yeah, honestly, most of the time you just set it in one thing and forget about it. So I would like that for about 5 minutes, and then I'll go, whatever, like who cares. And the fact that when you actually look on the spec sheet, the new 1300 GSA is actually heavier and has less payload. It's only like 1 kilo. But how does that fucking happen? Because the 1250 GSA has a lead battery. So you can take off 4 kilos straight away off the 1250 GSA, and then it'll be 5 kilos lighter than the 1300 GSA. Can you believe that? How is it possible that a new bike comes out and it gets heavier, and that's without the tech on it? You add all the tech on the 1300 GSA, electronic suspension, the windscreen, the automatic gearbox, this and that, it's gonna get even fucking heavier. So look, if I was gonna go on some big Adventure across Australia, through the guts of Australia, 15,000 kilometres. I'm going to rely on a 1250 GS. Imagine a 1300 GS, all the fucking shit that can go wrong with it, all this new stuff that can go wrong with it. And these things, battle tested, you know what you're getting. And look, unless you really need the new tech, I cannot mount an argument for the 1300 GSA over this glorious bike here. Well, the adventure version of this bike. I can't mount an argument. I could actually mount more arguments for the 1300 GS, because if you wanted something faster, more dynamic, lighter, this and that, I could actually mount that argument for the 1300. For the 1300 GSA, other than the new tech, what possible argument could you mount for it? Let me know down there in the comments. Catch you in the next one. Tally ho. Us convicts down here in Australia who think 18 gold medals is a lot of gold medals, beat you fucking palms. I can tell you, here in Australia they're going off. Oh, our athletes done so well, they trained so well, they performed so well, 18 gold medals, amazing. And guess what? All those gold medals have been overshadowed by one person. And you know who. Yes. You know who. I am a GS owner after all.